Hiya, my name is Stacie Townsend, and I'm the founder of Pickler, where we help you learn to play better pickleball. I'm also your host for Pickler the Podcast, along with my friend and pickleball partner, John, the People's Champ Davison. John, I can't believe we're already on episode number 3 today.
I know. And it's the first one live. I know you're nervous.
Oh, very nervous. Anything can happen with live podcasts. Well, I guess just like our other episodes, we're here to talk stories, tips, happenings, and everything else from the pickleball court. But today, we will be hosting the podcast while doing what we do essentially every weekend, which is watch pickleball. And we'll be watching some of our favorite pros. I know I'm probably not supposed to be biased as a pickleball content and media person, but I have my favorites. And we'll be watching USA Pickleball National Championships, the crown jewel of pickleball tournaments out there. It's been going on for this past week in Indian Wells, California. And so everybody pull up your second device, go on YouTube, Facebook, and if not, we'll be sharing our screen so you know exactly where we are and what we're watching so we can hang out and watch some pickleball. So, John, while everybody's getting acquainted with their live stream and settling in, we have one extra special twist for today, and we have a guest joining us. And would you like to introduce her?
Well, I actually just picked her up, a little bit ago. Doesn't matter. You know, with Tinder these days, you know,
What a lucky guy.
this is my better half. I guess I have to say favorite pickleball player.
Your favorite partner now?
No, you're definitely not my favorite partner. Not my favorite pickleball partner. By far, that's you, Stace. I think I am forced to say my favorite pickleball player, right? Because we all know I'm my own favorite pickleball player.
It's really
Well, I
nice of
guess
you.
I'm just kidding. But this is Olivia McMillan, my better half.
Hey, Olivia.
Hey, Stace. Thanks for having me on. This is really fun, really exciting, and just love what you guys are doing.
No, we're happy to have you. And I guess John didn't give you the full introduction. Olivia McMillan is a pro pickleball player herself, and she's also my women's partner and John's girlfriend, as you can probably tell by him making jokes about his better half. And we have some stories probably to explain why you say favorite player and not favorite partner. And we will get into a lot of partnership tips today.
Yes, and we will get into the story of why we do not play together on the same side of the court. We're good in life, just not on the court. So we'll stick to the off-court partnerships.
I also just like to comment one thing. Look how much bigger my head is compared to Olivia's. It's
We're
like
sitting the same. I'm actually a little bit more in front of him, which is the funny part.
my head is just that big. It's
Is
a
that
problem.
metaphorically and physically?
No. I'm very humble.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm very humble. Just have a abnormally large dome. Yes. But
We need big pickler hats for you.
yeah, they don't. They're a little tight on the noggin. So we might have to get some XLs.
Yeah. So let's jump in and explain what's going on the screen. So you can see we are live streaming USA Pickleball National Championships. This is the center court. It's live. We have a matchup between the Waters and Lucy Kovalova and Andrea Koop. So that's if you want to watch along with us, this is what we'll be watching. And I guess let's just kick it off and talk about USA Pickleball National Championships. We were there in 2019. You guys are both my partners. We played together. What was that experience like? Why does USA Nationals in Indian Wells so special?
I think there's a vibe about it, right? You have these amazing palm trees, you have everyone there. The atmosphere is electric. I mean, you look forward all year to going to nationals, right? And also it's just your partners. I mean, I always love playing with you, Stace, and I know John loves playing with you, so it's also just kind of ending the year on a high note.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's like got this air of classiness too, and it just feels important being there, whether you're playing, a 3-0 matchup all the way up to the pros. And I also like just the viewing. So I'm sure you can probably see on the live stream, there's grandstands, there's a lot of space, people kind of just congregate, and it just makes for a really special place. And the fans just kind of fill up and show up, and maybe a few drinks at Margaritaville helps, but it's a really fun place to be.
Yeah, they do have very good margaritas there. I remember that from last time. Couple down, and you are ready to hit the dance floor. That's for sure.
Yeah, actually, funny story. You might have had too many margaritas the day before our competition, John, because you started cramping about 3 games in.
I don't know what you're talking about, first off. I think it was just a little hot. Nothing to do with the margaritas the day before,
Okay.
but that was my bad. That was my bad.
That's okay. I got to take the forehand side of the court for a change. It didn't go down so well, but it was still fun.
I
A fun time.
remember I went to hit a tweener in one of the warm-ups and won like our third or fourth round or something. And then my whole body was just like, nope. And I said, Stace, you're playing on the left. I'm gonna park it. I'm gonna park it in the corner.
I remember you looked at me at one point and you go, "This isn't good." I'm like, "Oh
It's
no,
not good.
what's gonna happen?" But you had your first IV experience. He had never gone anywhere to have an IV, and let me tell you, the next day he came out like a rock star, like a champ. I'm like, man, this is the people's champ. He just needs a little bit of hydration.
You know,
I
I full body cramp, laying down in the shower on the ground. 2 hours later, got an IV out in California, and I felt like a brand new woman. I played men's doubles the next day and got a couple wins, which was nice and pro. And yeah, I felt pretty good. It's amazing what an IV will do for you.
So pickleball 101, I think, is stay hydrated, especially out in the desert.
Yeah, stay hydrated. If not, just get an IV. That's that a great idea. You feel like a new human.
Yes. So gearing up for a big tournament like nationals, obviously you want to get the best partners you can, right? You want to have a good showing. What are some tips that you have in trying to get a right partner? And I guess like to kick it off, right? A right partner doesn't mean always the best player you can get. It means the best player for you and your game. And what does that look like?
Absolutely. Stace, for me, and you know this because we talk about it all the time, is having fun, right? I mean, you see so many players on the court that are smiling and they're having fun, and those are usually the teams that are winning, right? And just having a good time and embracing the sport. So for me, I think that's why I love playing with you so much, Stace, is we're just so positive and uplifting with each other, and we're laughing and we're not taking it seriously, and there's no eye rolling, right? There's no, like, I get so mad at John. I'm like, why would you miss that? Why are you being stupid, right?
Well, we already know she's
But
fabricating because I don't miss. So
yes, he's number one. I don't know who this Vince John guy is, but
yeah, Ben's just lucky he's never played me. So obviously, it's always been my partner's fault why I haven't won. I I
are you
have
blaming Stacie?
Yes. Sorry, Stace. It's not me. It's not me.
I
So
understand. Well, we had the Waters on here, and they're obviously on our screen now. We had them on the second episode. Their 2 tips for playing were move your feet and have fun. So having fun goes a long way, not only in your own success, but I think also your partner, right? Like if Olivia, if we played together and you were making comments or eye rolling, I would be so nervous. I'd be worried to letting you down even more than like I want to do well for you anyway. But it's just you play tight. You're more worried about the criticism than your actual play. So having fun is or having fun and being positive with your partner is so important. And I think a lot of people miss that, unfortunately.
100%. And I'm a huge believer in the power of positivity and kind of pushing through the negative thoughts in your head. I mean, it's such a mental sport to begin with. So if you have a partner that's a bit negative and you clearly feel that, right? You feel the negativity, you don't have time to think about it. So now you're not thinking about your shot selection, your execution, you're thinking, oh no, I have to make this shot or else my partner is just going to lose it, right? So I think just keeping positive and keeping just an uplifting attitude. And you get down on yourself sometimes. I know I'm guilty of that too, just being why am I letting my partner down? I need to do better. But yeah, just having fun and having that intensity and those let's goes. I mean, those are, the moments that we live for.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think you just saw the Waters take game one over there. I don't know how many people out there saw them in their first match of the day. This is their second. They played, and I may mess this name up, the Brazier sisters. Is that correct, John?
Catalano said Brasha.
Brasha, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. So they played the Brasha sisters the first match of the day, and they lost the first game out of the gate. And you could see, I think Anna Lee looked a little off, maybe a little not her positive self, to use our discussion, Liv. And her mom had like a talk, trying to make her laugh and have fun. And they lost the first match 11-7. They come back and win the next two 11-2, 11-2. And then you just see them kind of carry that into this game. So immediate impact in her attitude on the court.
Right. And that just boils down to support, right? I mean, obviously, with Annalie having her mom there, her biggest supporter, her biggest cheerleader, her teammate, really, it just proves that that's what you need to have a successful team, right? Not only the chemistry, but that person that can lift you up when you're clearly not playing too well, you're a little bit off your game, but you have that person that says, "Hey, have fun. I'm here for you. Let's get this done." So, encouraging words can really just turn someone around. It can turn the match around.
And I guess to make John's head a little bigger, he's very good at this because he always makes some jokes or makes you crack a smile on the court.
Yeah, there is sometimes I get a little testy.
Yeah.
But
I will say, I will say off the court, right? We clearly have no fun together at all. We never laugh, but he does the same thing in life. If I'm stressed or I'm going through something or I just need him to make me laugh, he's there. So, and that's, I think, why you and John work so well together on the court, because you're both laughing and you're, cracking the jokes and just having a good time.
I think that's also true about you, Stace, too. Like when you make a mistake or something, you're like, "Oh my God, John, that was so stupid," then you just start dying laughing, or like we talk strategy and then we bail on the strategy and we look at each other like that we did exactly what we talked about not doing and just start laughing, like, because at the end of the day, it's pickleball, right? We can throw paddles, we can, argue and blame each other.
Well,
Why are you looking at me?
I think we should take that moment and just get right down to it. You guys clearly are a good match in life. Why does it not work on the pickleball court?
You go first.
Okay, one, we have come a long way. We did play indoor nationals together and we got bronze. And I remember we're on the way to the courts and John looks at me, he goes, "Let's just have fun today." And so I think it's the emotional aspect, right? I mean, you hold your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, you hold them to a different standard. So there's that emotional component. And for me, I'm like, "Why did you do that? That was stupid." And, we like to banter back and forth. And sometimes, Matt and Lucy, for example, great together. I mean, some people can really make it work and some just can't. And I think I'm very emotional on the court. And so I think that's just why we don't work.
It's kind of like, you either keep the relationship or you play pickleball together. So it's, you just got to pick one. I think sometimes, like what she said, just hold yourself to hold them to a higher standard, right? And then, it means a lot more when your partner gives you an eye roll and that person is also like your significant other. You know what I mean? So it's like, if like, Stacie, you gave me an eye roll, I'd be like, well, maybe I deserved it. Olivia gives me an eye roll. I'm like, all right, what's her problem? You know what I mean?
That's too funny. No, I think that's right. I was just grabbing a book that a new Pickler writer wrote. It's called "I Dink, Therefore I Am," and I was trying to find a quote from his book, but I'll paraphrase it. It basically says your partner in life may not always be the best pickleball partner for you, and that's because whoever wants, kind of like in a relationship, whoever cares about the relationship less, it may be an issue. So you have to have like the same caring about the sport of pickleball. Like if one person wants to play 6 times a week and one person wants to play one, you're probably not a pickleball on court match. And I found that's probably true. So you guys at least care about pickleball kind of equivalent, I feel like. But a lot of couples, one person could, doesn't have the competitive gene at all, while somebody else is like only there to win. So I think that's a good testament of picking the right partner as well.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. Like, maybe the girl partner is like just out there having fun, and the guy's like, "Can't believe you missed a dink," like. So you
I
see it
know.
all the time.
Yeah, you do, and we've gotten better. I think we've definitely figured out how to play better with each other.
That's true.
We have. I think so.
You know what I do, Stace?
What's that?
That's not true. We just played this morning, and that is not true.
She also tried to what I call a dirty Davison. It's like a nasty Nelson, when you hit the person that's standing on the line. A dirty Davison, obviously named after me. You hit your own partner with the ball.
Intentionally or unintentionally?
Intentionally.
Oh, so you're willing to lose the rally and the point just to get even with your partner.
To send a message, and she tried. She did get me with a nasty Nelson today, which was unfortunate. But,
It was glorious. I mean, he always does it to everyone else, so I needed to give him a taste of his own medicine. So he's
Right.
looking at his watch. I look over at my partner, and I went for it. And I've got to say, it's the highlight of the year, I think.
I don't know if she called the score, though, so it might have been.
I did. Very fast.
Yeah, it might have been a little too early. Service fault.
That's funny. So what about tips? Is there any difference between mixed doubles and gender doubles when you're picking a partner, and then we can talk strategy?
I think there's a huge difference. I think you can comment on the women, but like the men's side, I feel like you kind of have to, I don't know. For me, it's like I want someone who's going to be like a hype man, but can also like tell me straight, and then I feel like in mixed, you do have to have like a good relationship with the girl, because I feel like, in mixed, it can be kind of annoying for the girls too, because it's just like, this guy's like taking all the balls, and there's like that kind of confusion, and I feel like you definitely have to have like a good relationship with them, like
More
to
trust.
trust. And I don't know about the women's side of mixed. I think some women might not like mixed that much, but I like mixed.
It's funny. Mixed is actually, I think, the biggest day typically for tournament days. I think mixed is quite popular.
Yes, the draws, I feel like, are 3-4 times as big as the women's draws. I mean, I feel like even this past year, tournaments that I haven't participated in, I love to watch, and I look at the draw for women's, and I'm like, man, we got to get some ex-college tennis players out here, we got to get the draw bigger. But I think also it's personalities and how your strengths really work and coincide with each other, because some like it just to be told straight up, hey, this is my ball, this is what your role is, and this is how we're going to execute together. And, women are a little more emotional, so sometimes you got to sugarcoat it. So I think it's really on-court chemistry and how you can communicate and move forward together. Like, and for me, sometimes I even admit, I'm like, that wasn't my ball. And some of my partners will say, yeah, that's my ball, So, I want someone to tell it to me straight, but I also don't want them to say it in a negative way where now I feel like I'm in this tiny space and I'm just supposed to dink, and now I don't know if I can play my game, right? So I really think it just depends on who you are and how you work with other people.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have that conversation with your partners up front, or when do you have that conversation, if at all?
Yeah, for sure. You have to. You have to say, hey, I like to do this. This is what my strengths are. This is how I like to play this type of partner, right? This type of player. And just have a dialogue, kind of making sure you're on the same page, right? You can't just go
Right.
out and say, Okay, so good luck. You can't just kind of wing it. You really have to be strategic before you even step foot on the court.
No, I agree. I think so this weekend at Nationals, we're seeing some interesting matchups and what I guess would be the typical or the common. And there's actually two tournaments this weekend that are a lot of pros are at. So we're getting different matchups on both ends of the United States because one is in our home state of Florida, and obviously we're watching Indian Wells here. So what do you think these pros are doing? I mean, I guess the waters, it's nice to be family, right? You get to spend every waking hour together. But how do you handle it if it's not your typical matchup? And when are you starting to have those conversations, do you think? You think it's they're practicing as soon as they get there as much as they can, or how are they tackling that?
I think you definitely get like a few games in, but I think with a new partnership, you almost just have to play your game and then let the chips fall, right? Because I mean, if you're playing with someone new, it's kind of hard to really play your best, I would think, right? As a team. So you almost just have to play your game and pick each other up where you can until you eventually, start playing more and more together and you start figuring out uh tendencies, right?
Sure. And there's only so much talking you can do, right? So kind of going back to having a game plan before you hit the court with someone, that is great, right? But then you have to really navigate in these pickup games, right? So I might like my forehand Ernie. I like my Ernie.
Yeah.
And but sometimes maybe whomever I'm playing with likes to come over, maybe take those balls. And maybe I'm a little restricted. So I think it's kind of like dating. You really have to get to know your partner.
Definitely. As we just see
And then
Lucy
on,
get hit in the face.
Did she
oh no.
really?
I think Lucy just got popped in the
Oh no.
face here by AL. Oh, right on the
Oh,
chin.
yep.
Yep. We're gonna walk away from that one.
But Stace, I do want to ask you the same question. So, how do you prepare when you're playing with someone new? Might be a little nervous. You've never played with that person before. How do you navigate that?
Well, I am a player that gets nervous. Was a competitor my whole life in softball, but I think for some reason pickleball I'm not as confident in my ability, which I'm sure a lot of people get nervous and feel the pressure when they uh, are on the court. So I do get nervous, and I try and tell my partner like I'm going to give you my all. If you see anything, just tell me. I try and be very open and take any criticism that they have because I'm sure there's plenty, right? But I tell them I think people know what to expect with my game. I know I've surprised John a few times on the court, but I know my game, and I tell my partner this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to keep the ball over the net, and I'll let you be the attacker and speed it up. So I try and just play my role, and I know what it is. But I think knowing your own game and being honest about what your capabilities are, and then I always just try and be positive, right? Like I'm going to make mistakes, and I know my partner's going to make mistakes, and I always try every time there is a mistake, I either say my bad and take ownership for it, or I say unlucky, right? Oh, you missed it, unlucky. And that way it's just a little reassuring thing, like no problem, we got this. And I think that goes a long way on the court.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I
100%. And I also really look for in a partner that fight, right? So that fire. I know the minute I step on that court, that's my ride or die, right? They're going to be with me until the end, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
And I know I'm never going to quit no matter what. I'm going to go down swinging. And so that's what I want in a partner too. Someone that's like, doesn't matter if we're down 14-1, right? Or it's, 12 all. Like it doesn't matter how tight the match is as long as someone's fighting next to me. That fuels my fire
Yeah.
to step up and perform for them. So just body language too. I all of it.
Yeah, pickleball is an interesting game because you can only score when you serve, right? So there's always room for a comeback, and momentum swings are so important. And I know John and I have been on the very unlucky end of many matches against you, Olivia, unfortunately. And you talking about fight, I can't tell you how many times John and we win game one, we're up significantly in game two, and all of a sudden Olivia's like, I'm not giving up, and continues to chip away against us, unfortunately, John.
I don't think that's your bad, Stace, because it seems as though in every single tournament, every pro draw, I always win a first set against a good team, and then I just poop the bed, so to say. Like just like the last time I played, my partner and I took a game off Callan Dawson and AJ Kohler, who went on to win silver, and then we just like handed them the game after, and it's like, ugh.
So why do you think that happened? So you mentioned that there's a bit of a theme. You'll come out hot, you'll win the first, you're feeling good. What do you think happens in the second? Like what's the turning point you think?
I don't know. I think
Good.
people. I think I obviously haven't figured that out yet, or else it wouldn't happen every single tournament. um, I think people sleep on me, and then I surprise them, and then they're like, oh, "Okay, I guess we have to play them." So
I love
then
being the
so
underdog.
then
I
they,
think
so they
that's the
turn it
best
up.
place to be.
Yeah, I
I
like
think
being an underdog too.
when that happens to me, and like think momentum has something to do with it, but I also think pickleball, you forget, is a game of constant adjustments, like constant strategy changes. So maybe you figure out the opponents right away, but especially as you get better and better, right? The opponents realize what you're doing and they change their strategy. And then you have to respond to that. And for me, I think sometimes I don't respond fast enough. And I'm trying to always strategize, but I think being aware of changes on the fly, it's one of the hardest things to do, and why the pros are as good as they are, because they can strategize so quickly, but constantly thinking and making those adjustments.
Absolutely. And strategy is so big. And I think when I'm asked, what's the one thing, why do you love pickleball so much? So a lot of my friends, they're like, you're obsessed. Like you play all the time. What's so different? And I say the strategy, it's like chess. You're always thinking, you're always on your toes. There's not one game that's the same. There's not one point that's the same. So it really keeps you not only in great physical shape, but mentally, you really have to think strategically all the time.
Totally. John, are you thinking all the time on the court?
You know, I don't know how much I think on a daily basis. So I try to be a smart player. I do make a lot of stupid decisions. Um, I think it's my ADHD. I lose focus at times, which is a
Well,
problem.
watching the live stream here, timeouts are your best friend when you start to feel any of those shifts in momentum or shifts in strategy. I always say 3 points. If my opponents get 3 points on me in a row, I'm taking a timeout. So it looks like this is what's happening here. I'm not sure why Andrea Coop may be sitting off to the side. Maybe she needs an extra mental break.
Well, there's some players that maybe that kind of like, you see with the Newmans, right? The Newmans,
Hmm.
they're obviously blood, right? But they literally just walk in different directions. And I'm like, what's happening? But then, they come back and they win the game. So it's like, all right, well, clearly it works for them.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a minute, right? I mean, if you're the one that maybe is making a couple mistakes, maybe you just need a second to clear your head, to get back, to center yourself, and then go back to your partner and say, "Okay, I'm good. Let's try again." You know?
Well, also, I think too, this might be the first time they've played together, Lucy and Andrea Coop.
I think they might have played together once before. I feel like I've seen them on the court together, but it is a different matchup, right? Lucy's always on the court with Simone for the part of the
Yeah.
last 18 months. Uh, so they definitely down the middle is obviously a great strategy for the Waters, and probably one of their favorite moves is hard up the middle. So it probably favors their game a little bit.
Oh, yeah, because, there's the
It's quite effective.
yeah, there's the question of, okay, who gets middle too, right? When you have a new partnership like that. But I mean, I feel like Andrea Coop is one of the most underrated players, or
Oh,
like least talked about, because, she's a baller. Where'd she play? Like UCLA?
Hmm.
So
national champion, I think,
Yeah, she's a
too.
national champion.
yeah, but I feel like she doesn't get a lot of the attention as much as like, the Waters, Simone, Lucy, Catherine, right? But
Well, Andrea, for those of you that don't know, she's actually a full-time attorney. So she is not a full-time pickleball pro like some of the others out there. So she obviously is not as visible because she's not at as many events.
right.
But you're right, John. Like she just won Major League Pickleball. She's constantly on the podium. Her defense is incredible. It's hard to get anything by her, and she's offensive on top of it. So she's a great partner for Lucy to pick up in Simone's absence for sure.
Right. And if you notice on the stream, this previous point, she's got an amazing backhand roll dink, right? It was pulling Lee out wide quite a bit. And then you see Lucy kind of step over. I mean, that is such a great shot to just set up your partner. And like you said, Stacie, to echo your point, her defense is amazing. I mean, she's always so balanced and she just has great hands. And I agree, she's a very strong player and underrated, but I think it's just she doesn't play as many tournaments.
Yeah, and that's probably why
Right.
she's not in a conversation as much.
Well, I think all these pros honestly have just gotten better and better over the last 12 to 18 months because they're playing each other at such a high level every other weekend almost. And next year it'll be probably almost every weekend. So their ceiling, their runway to get better and better is just insane. Like Anna Lee in particular, it's incredible her skill level.
And it's only going to go up,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, the girls too, when there's just more and more girls that get in the game.
Right. And the game's getting so fast. I mean, it used to be drop the ball, dink. I mean, now it's just speed up. Your hands have to be insanely good. It's just the bar is being raised each tournament.
mm, and I think the women's game is more exciting than the men's game, honestly, because all the women do is just rip, especially the waters. So
That was literally going to be my next question is what you prefer to watch, women's, men's, mixed, or single?
singles is probably my least favorite. Um, I like to watch. I feel like I would go women's doubles, men's, and then mixed. That I think, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go with. What about you? Same or mixed?
Same, but I love singles.
Oh
So
yeah,
I actually enjoy watching the women's singles. I like watching the men's. The cat and mouse is incredible. I mean, when you go out and you drill a cat and mouse game like that, you're just moving each other. I mean, heck of a workout. But I do love women's women's doubles. I mean, hands down, it's
yeah,
entertaining. The tenacity of all these players, the fight, it's just amazing to see.
yeah. I think I like the. You're right. I like the women's doubles better than men's doubles, and then I like the men's singles better than women's singles because I feel like the cat and mouse and just like the length of the
Right.
guys, how they can just reach the balls and keep it in play, or the women just kind of. I feel like it's more tennis.
You definitely have to
Olivia,
hit your spots.
definitely. Will you explain cat and mouse and the difference between maybe women's singles and men's singles on a very stereotypical level?
Sure. I think for women, there's more counterpunching, right? You really from the baseline you're exploding, whereas men are just trying to get into the net, I think, and they're dropping the ball. So you see a lot more drops into the kitchen in men's singles. So you drop it, you come in. Now you have both opponents, you have both on the kitchen line.
Hmm.
You can't pass them, right? So you have to start moving the dink around, which is cat and mouse, right? So you're kind of trying to lure them one way to go the other way. And
Hmm.
it's fun to see. It's exciting.
Yeah,
I know. I always am. So whenever I play singles, which is very rare, you always want to go for the passing shot, but your opponent wants you to, right? So they can put it away. So it is kind of a when do I pull the trigger? What do I do? Game versus just driving the ball space line.
yeah. Well, I think also too the singles game is so much different because the men are just bigger, right, and they can cover the court so much easier.
Hmm.
That where the women they can't do it as much. So I don't think it benefits them as much to come in and take up the kitchen line, right? To put pressure. At least that's my opinion. I'm not a singles player. But the men, you get someone like Jay Duvier up at the kitchen line. The guy can just
He's
cover the
huge.
whole court, and it's like you can't pass him. So he forces you to play that game, you know?
Right. And I think on the women's side of that, Leah Jansen can cover the court tremendously well. And she trains pretty intensely with Tyson. So you see her dropping the ball, coming in. She just covers really well. She puts a lot of pressure on you, which makes it really hard because you're going for too much and then you start making
Right.
mistakes. So on the women's aspect of that, I think Irina has amazing off-court angles that are just insane.
Mm.
And Leia does a very, very good job of that.
Yeah. I think Irina has the prettiest strokes in pickleball for sure. Everything she does is like just so elegant.
She makes it look easy, that's for sure.
Yeah. Almost like a Morgan Evans, I think, on the guy's side is like another person that just everything he does is just like beautiful,
Mhm.
and Irina's that way for sure. But
Mhm.
she can cover a lot of court. The taller girls like Leia, Irina, they can play a little more of those cat and mouse games, right? Where some of the shorter players might not be able to just because they can't cover the kitchen line. I might be wrong.
Right.
You can tell me.
Okay, well, as the shorty that he's referring to. um, it is hard, and that's honestly, I'm just naturally very quick on the court, so I get away with it a little bit, but my strategy is trying to get to the net just so I can decrease the amount of court that they have that I have to cover because my wingspan is like half the size. So it's definitely harder. I mean, having some height is an advantage, definitely. But my question is, Stace, when are we getting you on the singles court?
So I think I'd have to start at the 3-0 level, just like I did with doubles, because it's a totally different game. No, every once in a while, especially during COVID, I play a lot, and these names have been thrown around with Brandon Hubschman, Taylor Niss, the Waters. So we had our little COVID bubble during the height of COVID, and we'd play. And I would always challenge Brandon or Annalie to a singles match at the very end of our thing. I could score a few points off of Brandon. I'd play games to 5 because that's about all I could manage. And then you play Annalie though. I good luck even getting close. So I think she brings my confidence level singles down way too far for me to even try it. But one day.
One day when I'm back playing singles, I'll get on the court these days.
All right, that sounds
All right.
like a fun day.
All right, Stace, it's 9-9 in the second here. Is it going to 3? Olivia and I always do this. We always try to predict every time we watch every weekend, because there's pickleball every single weekend now.
Yes.
We sit on the couch and do absolutely nothing. And we'd watch and we try to predict the scores of every match. Like if it goes a 2-3, what the scores will be. What's your prediction? Do the Waters pull it out in game 2? Well, they
If
just got
any
to match point, so.
So my prediction is the Waters are going to win. I was going to say this a moment ago. They were stuck on 8 for quite a few points, it looked like. And I was getting nervous because, as we kind of alluded to it earlier in our conversation, it's tougher to reach the end the closer you get to it. You kind of have to, oh, there you go. So anyway, yeah, once they broke through 8, you knew they were going to be rolling. It's like you get stuck on a number and you got to break through every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows I'm Team Waters. So this is fun to see. They're going to be in the gold medal match looking to defend their national title. We had them on. Annalie joked they're back to back because we had a COVID hiatus with nationals last year and they were the 2019. So they were the default back to back champions. But it's great to see, especially as I said, they had a really rough start today.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to their abilities and to them as a team in general, because there are times where you just start out slow. And, it's the decision of, okay, am I going to let that define the rest of our day? Or am I going to try and turn that around? And this is a perfect example. What a great match that they just pulled out. And, Annalie didn't start out that great, but now she's the rock star that she is. So she's back on track.
I just love how in sync they are. You saw there, like in the slow-mo, they both like the same celebration, like they pump the fists at the same exact rhythm. It's just funny. They're so in sync.
No, they are. And it's funny because if you know their personalities, you know when they're into it too. Like Lee does this paddle tap thing where she'll tap and do like she has a little extra oomph at the end of it. So you can tell when they really start getting into it. And when they're screaming at each other, leaning back in the face, it's definitely there. So nationals overall, you mentioned the Newmans. They took home their first national championship last night. Did you get a chance to watch that at all?
No.
No, we went to a play actually.
Oh, a
We
play.
didn't do it. Yeah, Podcast Nick invited us.
He's a season ticket holder.
He's a season ticket holder at the Times Union for plays. He's one of those guys that cries at every play, but we still
Just called him out.
we still hang out with him.
Okay, I will say I'm not a crier, and I actually teared up on the exact same scene that Nick did. So we shared a bit of a moment, and then John's over there like, "All right, when is this over?"
No, it wasn't.
No, it was a phenomenal play. But we chose not to watch pickleball for once and go do something social.
Well, that's good to
Yeah.
take a break. You can come back and appreciate it even more. But the Newmans played and they had to do the double dip the second game because Matt and Lucy won the first 2 out of 3 and they won in the game to 15. But I always love watching the Newmans play because they're so unconventional. And it was fun to see them go up against Matt and Lucy, which we've seen that matchup a million times, but it was nice to see it on the championship court.
Right. It's also amazing to me that Lindsay, she's 6 months pregnant. She's quite far along, and she doesn't look like she's phased by the heat. She's not phased by the long days. She's just playing her game. I mean, it's unbelievable. You would never know that she's pregnant. She just went out there and she's winning these huge matches, and just hats off to that. Hats off to her.
Definitely. So now we don't have any other championship matches until tomorrow. They're doing a championship Sunday, like the PPA installed, I guess, this year. Do you have any predictions going into tomorrow? And I guess to tee it up, we have the singles matchup will be Annalee Waters versus Jill Braverman. The men's singles matchup, I guess there was a little bit going on that I'm not totally in the loop on, but it should be Zane Navratil versus Tyson McGuffin. And then we're watching all the other action today.
Yes, and then wait, the men's play Sunday as well, right? The championship. Okay. Predictions. I mean, AL is gonna win. The Zane and Tyson is a real toss-up. It really depends on. I don't know. Zane's had a couple big PPA tour wins lately, so he's probably riding on a lot of confidence. Where Tyson, I love my boy Tyson, but he's been silver for a while, so he needs to get over that hump and get that gold again.
Maybe this time, this is it.
Maybe.
I want to know, I'm interested in their records against each other because I feel like they play each other quite a bit. I mean, it's kind of predictable, the men's singles draw. I mean, as talented and as deep as it is, you really get Tyson, Jay, Zane, right? Like those three, I feel like play each other all the time.
Yeah. And then now you got JW coming on the scene, doing well.
Yeah, incredible.
And then Ben, I mean, guy's all right,
Well, I think you hit on something, Olivia. One thing pickleball, so I come from softball, which is so stat driven, right? Like your batting average, your ERA as a pitcher, everything is a stat. But I think it also comes with the territory. It's pitch by pitch. It's a much slower game. I don't know what it's like in tennis, but pickleball, I just feel like there's no data. I don't know my record versus, well, I know personally my record versus you, Olivia, when John and I play you and your partner. But every other record out there, I don't know it. I don't know my stats on my third shots, whether I'm dropping or driving, where I'm going to. Like there's so much information that's out there that I think will really, propel some of these pros in their games. I know there's people that have talked about getting stats, but what are your thoughts? I know John's a numbers guy. What are your thoughts?
I think it's vital. And I say that with the experience of being kind of the stat girl, I did some freelance work for ESPN and Tennis Channel in my early 20s, and I was that person. So I would actually sit and I would watch every match, and you had, this system, and you would actually log every single match and every point, how each point ended, right? And then you would send that data to your producer. And that's where you see, if you're on ESPN and it's showing percentages of serves or percentages of double faults, second serves, etc., right? So I think that's huge because when you go back and you analyze, okay, how many thirds did I miss? Did I miss long? Did I miss high? Did I miss in the net? I feel like if you are a professional and you're getting paid for this, like you want to have that breakdown. You want to see where can I improve, not in just looking back and reflecting, but actual data.
Yeah, I personally hate watching myself, so I've done stats on other people where I have an Excel spreadsheet and I just take stats on like the Bens and the Kyles and those guys.
I think we just came up with a business idea. Just saying.
Yeah,
Well, I
I don't
know
know.
there's people out there doing it, and I imagine even if you're not a pro, right? If you're a recreational player, just knowing your tendencies or like seeing the numbers can probably highlight things that you should work on.
Um, yeah, it would be great for gambling. I do think podcast Nick just reminded us because he is a gambling fiend. Um, Gambling will definitely need stats. That's definitely gonna have to come. Your little business idea, I think someone, they definitely have software that helps because
Yeah.
I've done it by myself and it takes so long.
Yeah, the software I think is very important because then you can really extract so much data. I mean, it's not just misses, unforced errors,
Yeah.
winners, etc. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just really important. Even I think rec players. I mean, as a teaching pro, I do that as well. I think a lot of my clients would love to see in their tournaments like a breakdown so they know what to practice in rec play and practice in their lessons. So I think overall for any player it would be advantageous.
Yeah, I think there is some software out there for tennis, and I think someone's trying to make it for pickleball. Last I heard, like a year ago.
If anyone has an update on that, throw it in the chat. Let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, I've heard something about that. Somebody coming in like a year ago, but I don't know if it's ever come to fruition yet. But I'm sure with the sports books coming in, they're gonna want some hard stats so they can make, the right lines.
No, that's right. That's a good point. So you're placing your bet on circling back to USA Nationals. You're placing your bet on men's and women's for tomorrow. Who are you placing your bet on?
You go first.
For singles, I'm going with Tyson. Love his intensity. I mean, rock star on the court. I think his movement, just everything. Love him. So I think that's my men's singles. Women's, I don't know a lot about Jill Braverman's singles game. I know that she had lost to AL previously in the main draw pretty handedly. So, and I mean, can anyone beat AL right now in singles? I mean, she's just on a roll.
Yeah.
Those are my two. And then who's in for men's?
For
Who's in
men's
for men's?
doubles?
Yeah.
Well, that's still playing.
So TBD on that. No, I mean, I think Riley and Tyson do play very well together.
Yeah.
They complement each other. I think they know their roles. But, JW and Callan, I mean, that's a great team. I mean, they could really upset some good teams. So, of course, the Waters. Always Team Waters as well, Stace. So those are mine. What about you guys?
I like my boy Tyson in singles. Definitely like the intensity. The dude changes shirts 5 times a match. Um, he is super sweaty, super intense. He's got the bad boy look of pickleball. Definitely. He pulls off the sleeves, the tats. I'm going with him just based on his looks.
He's gonna love that.
I know he will. He's a good dude. I just like his intensity. One thing I really like about Tyson in singles is now, you see his family at every single tournament. So, he flies his wife Megan, right? Megan. Um is that her name?
Yes.
Tyson's
Yeah.
wife. Sorry, I don't know why I blanked on that. And then like all 8 of his kids. And then like the grandparents, and then you see him when he hits like a crazy winner or something like that. He like is like and he's like pointing at him, he's like just barking and like pointing at him like I'm doing this for you, kind of thing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, his intensity is awesome. I mean, when he starts barking and he starts going, I'm like, all right, things are about to get real. This is exciting.
Yeah. And then I think Tyson and Riley pull it out in doubles.
Well, based on their performance yesterday, I mentioned Riley got gold with his sister Lindsay, and Tyson grabbed the bronze with Annalie. So based on that performance yesterday, they seem to be rolling. So I agree across the board. I think Tyson. The only question mark for me for tomorrow for both Tyson and Annalie, if I'm projecting them to win double gold, is it is a tough day going from about 2 out of 3, maybe a double dip to in the game to 15, uh, super intense, and then having to do it again, whether you start with singles or doubles or vice versa. A little different game, super intense day. They're in the desert and the heat, right? So Tyson's going to need 10 shirts, I think, John.
At least. And that's just singles. So, you think 2 shirts a set, he could be playing lots of sets, so he's going to have his bags packed. That's for sure. And I don't know. Well, and we're actually about to see Tyson play with Riley against J Dubs and Callan, who just took down Deckel and Matt Wright.
Wow.
11-8 in the third.
11-8 in the third.
I would say that's an upset.
Yes. I mean, Matt and Deckel, I mean, they're both huge hitters. They're tall. I mean, when you have 2 tall guys on the other side of the net from you, that's intimidating. I mean, their reach, their power. So I think that's a great win. Callan's got great hands. The dinks, he could dink all day, great dinks. And JW is just awesome. I mean, just the hands on that guy, telling you.
Yeah. He's going to say it. He's going to say fewer words than Tyson changes shirts. That's my prediction.
Such a great family, though. JW
No,
is
no,
awesome.
yeah, he's a good kid.
No, they're great. And watching these pros, right? Like I think it's one of the best ways to really improve your game too, outside of going out and drilling yourself. Watching the top players play, you pick up strategy or watch what they're doing, and then you can go out and emulate it. I think it's super valuable. And on top of it, the technology or the equipment that they're using to stream the matches is just getting better and better with these pro tours and more money out there. So we get much better action and even I think better and better commentating in the live stream. So you can really learn a lot. And I would encourage everybody to watch as much pickleball as you can because it's going to help grow the sport too.
Yeah, and I love that we now have commentators because they really do a great job of breaking down the sport, breaking down the points, explaining some things that might be going on that, the viewers at home may not understand what's happening. And that's what I encourage all of, my students that I teach. I say, go and check out the tournament this weekend, right? Watch how much they're dinking with intention, right? I mean, so often we find that our, rec play 3-5-4-0s sometimes just want to drive the ball and they don't want to dink. And so that's when I encourage, I say, hey, check out the pros playing this weekend and see how much they're dinking. Just check it out, right? So it really is a good opportunity for you to learn from your couch.
Yeah, well, I think with rec players, they think, a lot of, not all, obviously, a lot of rec players, they think that you dink just to dink, right? But really, you're dinking so that, one, you don't get the ball blasted back in your face. And then, two, you're trying to move the ball so you can get a pop up, right? So it is that like intention. And you definitely, a lot of rec players, I feel like, need that kind of thought process.
Right. And I think that's what sets levels apart.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Is not the power. I mean, everyone has the power, everyone can drive a ball. everyone can hit a winner, but it's the soft game. It's moving the dink around intentionally, right? Not just hitting the same spot. And I think that's what really separates, even the top 5 pros from the rest.
Mhm.
Yeah. The other thing I think that separates them is they have more than one shot, right? They can, if the shot A is not working for them, that's okay. They have shot B through Z, and
Right.
those top level pros, they can manipulate their game to whatever circumstances in front of them. Versus us mere mortals, maybe have 5 to 10 shots, and they have 25 to 50.
Yeah, I was about to
So
say A to Z is a lot. I feel like maybe have like A to E,
A to B.
A to E at tops. On a good day.
A forehand and a backhand, right, Olivia?
Yeah. More
Well,
so the backhand,
yeah, I would say like mostly
So
backhand.
maybe A to like A.5. Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
that's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Or B for backhand.
Yeah, B for
upper,
backhand.
upper and lowercase.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
lowercase for me.
So, Stace, question: what do you think is one of the most important and vital shots in pickleball and for your game?
Well, I think one of the most important shots is the reset, or when you're in trouble, how do you get out of it, right? Because
Yeah.
we're in trouble all the time. So if how you can reset it, and that's, if you know me, that's pretty much 90% of my game is resetting and blocking.
It's so
So
effective, though. I mean, you do it beautifully.
Mhm.
well, I think to take my game to the next level, and it takes a lot of practice, is how to be more offensive. So I think being defensive and resetting is the most important. As they say, defense wins championships. But I think being offensive really takes you to the next level. And that's the thing that I guess I struggle with is when I try and be offensive, I'm wild, right? Like you want to hit the ball harder, or um, do a bigger shot. So you take a bigger swing. And those are all the things you shouldn't do, right? You shouldn't try and hit the ball harder. You shouldn't take a wind up like I'm trying to hit a home run on the softball field. And those are the things I do. It's better to be intentional, right? Hit the ball down at the feet. It doesn't have to be the fastest shot, but placement. So placement over power. And I think
Right.
that's what I try to work on all the time, but hitting the big powerful shot sometimes is more fun.
Well, that's, it's like a juicy, low-hanging fruit, right? You get this high ball and you just want to whack it. Yeah, I mean, you just want to hit it hard. I mean, our producer Nick knows about that, you know? And but yeah, you have to be disciplined and you have to make those decisions. And
I think the funniest part is we have the podcast guy in the background that nobody can see, but since he can't respond, we could just talk a whole bunch of trash about him. There's nothing he can do.
I know so Nick is getting into pickleball, and last weekend he threw his paddle twice playing against kids. I mean, come on.
He did throw his paddle and launched it about, I don't know, 50 feet in the air.
Oh, correction. Sorry, correction. It was against adults. The kids were present.
Yeah.
I have to say, at least he's passionate about the game, and he's doing a great job helping us here with our Pickler the podcast. We couldn't do it without him, even if he does throw his paddle every once in a while. But the other thing that I struggle with, Olivia, is like I am sometimes afraid to make a mistake on the pickleball court. And we talked about having good partners, so having a good partner that allows you to make the mistakes to play freely helps. But that's one thing I struggle with is pushing the envelope and making a shot rather than being afraid to miss a shot.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everyone is really in the same boat, and especially if you want to make your partner proud and you want to win, sometimes you draw back and then you get into a rec game, or you maybe play a team that's not, as high of a level. You don't want to beat them. You're going to beat them at some point. You go for your shots, right? And you think, why can't I do this? Why can't I transition that into maybe a top 5 team, right? And why am I so scared to do that? So I think it's getting over that hurdle and just having a partner and saying, hey, I'm going to go for some shots, and
You're going to deal with it.
yeah, you're going to deal with it. And I might miss, but you know what? Like, that's how I'm going to play. And just sticking to what your game plan is and your game overall. And I struggle with that too. Sometimes I feel like I'm not going for my shots or I force it. And I'm like, just play your game, go for the ball, right? Just have fun and execute, you know?
Ooh, Riley got hit in the face.
What's with all these face tags?
I do think it's a growing strategy. So, oh no. I think it's a growing strategy though. Like you're pushing the ball in an awkward spot and the
Right.
chicken wing or here at your neck area. I don't think it's intentional. Nobody's trying to hurt anybody, but it's a strategy to hit awkward placements, especially with a big guy like Riley. It's really hard to get out of the way a shot at your head
Totally.
and neck region.
I mean, yeah, it's a big target, and how tall is Riley?
He's probably like 6'2".
I mean, that's hard to get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm a dodgeball champion. I'm 5'2". Like I can get out of the way in a minute.
And you still hit out balls.
And I do. Yeah, that's something I do have to work on. Is like we're playing games, and he's like, "Out, hit it." He's like, "Out," and I hit it again. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know."
The hardest shot, the hardest shot in pickleball is the one that you don't hit.
It was so
yes.
It was so funny when she was playing with Rob Nunnery in Atlanta. Rob is like, he's pretty good at calling the out balls, right?
Like early too.
And he like yells bounce, and Olivia's just hitting all the
just going at it.
And you just see Rob Nunnery like, oh my god, he's like bounce, and then Olivia hits it, and Rob's just like, another one.
I think the next step in like mixed or like my women's partnerships are just push me out of the way. You know, if you see me going for it, just do like one of these and get me out of the way because I'm hitting balls. And I remember that I'm like, Rob, I'm so sorry that was going out. He's like, yes, they're hitting the fence.
Rob, and not to hate on Rob, but he was definitely like a pretty good mixed partner, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely a good partner, who's supportive. It was just so funny because Olivia's hitting all these out balls, and
guilty, yeah.
He was just getting so frustrated. It was so funny to watch.
He was, but I also felt supported. Like I had a really fun, good time playing with Rob. I really enjoyed that partnership.
Yeah, I would like to play with Rob someday too. I probably have to get a little better.
I think you're in good then, so
yeah. I mean, it'd be an upgrade for him.
Anybody would be lucky to play with you, John. But I think you're in good company, Olivia, on the outball issue.
Yes. All the, I had this conversation this morning with a couple guys that we played with, and there's one guy that gets so mad because he's like, why do I keep hitting out balls? Like, and he looks at me, he's like, I need a lesson on how to hit out balls. I'm like, well, I do too. So
can't help you.
Maybe we could take a 2-on-1 or something.
The best thing is to get one of the pickleball lobsters because they shoot the ball at like 100 miles an hour. Like I remember the first time I used one of the lobsters, a buddy of mine put it on full, power, and Johan Nogerbat and I were just getting lit up by this ball, and it was on the baseline. And we're at the kitchen line, and we got pegged like 3 times each in the first 10 balls. I mean, it was like dodgeball. So I think maybe just put a lobster on full blast, and you'll start learning how to let some balls go.
That's funny, or at least block or get out of the way, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
As this match is starting, any other last thoughts on USA Pickleball National Championships this year or prior years?
I think my most candid reaction is I think the draws are a little sad, right? But I think there's, varying reasons why. You have just so many. I think before PPA and APP came in, this was like the crown jewel, and they went to Indian Wells, which is like a huge step for pickleball, and I think it still is. But I think some of the players are just burned out, so it's unfortunate that I think some of the players didn't want or aren't going because of that for one reason, right?
The pros.
Yeah, the pros, because the amateur level is obviously still there.
Right. Well, and I think that's what really drives a lot of tournaments. It's not, obviously people come to, watch the pros, but they also want to play. So regardless of, the pro turnout, I think the amateur turnout was great.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's over 2,200 players at this event. Regardless of the pro draw, which, for a variety of reasons, I know that COVID protocols shied away some pros. That just so everyone knows, at Indian Wells, you have to be vaccinated in order to even step on their premises. The burnout, some pros I think played close to 30 tournaments this year, which is almost one every other weekend or more than every other weekend. But I mean, the live stream, the look of the facility, the feel when after a point, the crowd still erupts. I feel like Nationals really hasn't skipped a beat. And you're right, Liv. That's because the amateurs really drive a lot of the fans that are at these events, right? They go to play, and then when they're not playing, they go to watch the pros.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And the venue is obviously top notch, right? It's probably the best venue that pickleball's ever been at, I would say.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
it's pretty cool. And then, it's, Coachella area, like where Palm Springs. So, I mean, you can't ask for like a nicer area too.
it's a 2-for-1. You can get a great Airbnb, get a pool, have a
Mhm.
great week of pickleball, watch some great pickleball, play some great pickleball, have some sun and have a good time in the
Yeah.
desert.
I think
Definitely.
this JW and Cowan team is actually really interesting because they both don't talk a lot. I don't think Cowan is much of a talker. When I played him before, I don't think he said one word. And then you have Riley and Tyson who are just like yelling the whole time.
To each their own.
Yeah. So, like,
Yeah,
here we go.
everybody has their own style of play.
Oh, for sure. I mean, some love to get pumped up and yell. Like, Jesse Irvine's got this amazing, intense, come on, let's go.
Mhm.
And, some are just a little more subdued, like Andrea Coop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just, is very composed and just kind of sticks to herself. So, each their own.
John, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask Olivia before we start to wrap up for today?
Any questions?
This is your chance to put her on live podcast history. Any questions?
This was not in the.
Yeah. This whole thing was not in your essay that you sent me. So,
I don't see questions for Olivia on here.
actually, there might be. I didn't read it.
You didn't read it?
He never
You know
reads
what?
my script.
Stacie's going to replace you with me.
Maybe.
Well, fine,
Um,
I'll give Olivia the opportunity then. Any questions you have for John? Anything that I should have asked him in the previous 2 podcasts or this one?
What are your goals for pickleball?
They've changed a lot.
I know. So, where do you see yourself? Like where do you want to go? Obviously this podcast is going to be the best pickleball podcast out there, and it's going to be number 1.
Of course,
Right.
we're
So,
you know,
on court.
on court. I 2 years ago when I first when did we start playing tournaments? I don't even know. Like
What year is it? What day is it?
2.5 years. I don't know. 2.5 years
What's
ago.
the score? Who's serving?
I was like,
I don't know.
when I played my first pro tournament and I got a win, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be Ben Johns one day. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be the best. And then I realized that you need to travel every weekend and just devote your life to it because now these guys are like real athletes. They're not just playing on the side now, right? This is what they do full time. It's really tough to compete, and I'm not about to quit my day job, you know?
Please don't.
Yeah, no. I would love to get in like the broadcast booth one day. I think that would be fun. Um, sit next to Dom Catalano out there. We'd have a good time. But my whole thing is I just want to compete, right? So I want to start getting. Now I'm in a thing where it's like, okay, I win the first round and then I lose the second, you know, and I want to get past that where it's like, okay, I'm competing with that next level, but I can never get the win. Like I competed with Callan and AJ, but then like basically gave them the match. and not to like take anything away from them, they played great, but it was like I felt like Dennis, my partner, and I just gave them the match, and because we just made so many mistakes and all that, and then you just can't do that against those teams.
Yeah.
So for me, in the short term, I need to get more consistent so I can actually at least compete better with those guys and get a couple more rounds in. I'm not saying I'm gonna win a medal in some of these big pro tournaments, but I definitely want to get, closer.
I will say you've improved immensely in the last year. I think you're playing, even in rec play, you're playing with intention and you're executing and you have a game plan and you're sticking to it and you're being, for the most part, focused. So
It's
you've
tough.
you've definitely focus, yes, squirrel. But I think you really have improved, and I think that's what you can absolutely do. And any tour would be so lucky to have you in the booth because you provide excellent entertainment and great breakdowns of matches. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Don't let that go to your head. That's the only thing nice I'm going to say.
I mean, if you keep giving me compliments, this hat's gonna literally blow off my head.
No, I'm well aware. That's it.
So
Spoken like a true coach, Olivia.
yeah.
Thanks. All right, Stacie, anything else? Any last words? Any questions?
Yeah, I think it's time to go watch some more USA Pickleball National Championships. I know the finals will be on tomorrow, so I hope everybody tunes in. It will be streamed on ESPN Plus for the fans, Roku, Selkirk TV, YouTube. I think anything they could stream it to, they are. I think there's even going to be a special broadcast on ESPNU, I read, so maybe check that out. While you're waiting for your favorite pros to play, please everybody subscribe to Pickler's Pickleball newsletter. It's for free and it'll help you learn to play better pickleball. And the next one comes out on Monday. So like a good hands battle at the kitchen line, act fast. And just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, which is Superior Labs. This podcast would not be possible without them. So thank you, Superior Labs. They're also a sponsor of USA Pickleball Nationals. You can see them on the screen over there. So Superior Labs supplements are designed to help you power up and recover faster so you can play more pickleball, as John shows his muscles under there.
Where are they?
Visit superiorlabs.com for more information. Yeah, so I'm stoked for the finals. Can't wait to watch some more. And thank you guys for sharing a bit of your afternoon and watching some pickleball live streams with us. I think this was fun. We should do it again, a little insight to what we do on the weekend.
Yep.
Thank you again. And,
you know what we got to do, Stace.
I'm right there with you.
We have to cheers the camera.
But
Ready?
first, thank you to Olivia McMillan for joining us, our second guest. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
No, thanks for having me on. I had such a blast. Love you guys, and cheers.
Cheers. Pickler out.